The Miami Dolphins find themselves in a difficult, almost heartbreaking situation right now. With Tua Tagovailoa out, the team is left scrambling, and it feels like we're walking on thin ice with no clear idea of what the future holds. The season, which started with so much promise, now hangs in the balance, and it's all because of the most important position in football, the quarterback. Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley? Let's be honest, they haven't been what the Dolphins need. Sure, they've both had their moments, but it's painfully clear that neither of them is the answer to keep this team afloat while Tua is sidelined. It's not just about a bad game here or there, it's about the inconsistency, the lack of confidence, and that feeling that things could spiral at any moment. The reality is, if Miami sticks with either of them for too long, there might not be anything left for Tua to come back to. And that's the scary part. This is where the urgency comes in. It's not just about finding someone to fill in for a few games. No, it's about survival. It's about keeping this season alive. The Dolphins have put themselves in a position where they can actually make a serious run, but all of that is at risk if they don't find a solution at quarterback, and fast. Every fan watching knows it. Every analyst is talking about it. This isn't something we can wait and see on. The trade deadline is looming, and Miami has to act now if they want to salvage what's left of this season. That brings us to Trey Lance. His name has been floating around as a potential trade target, and the idea has started gaining some real momentum. CBS Sports' Cody Benjamin even suggested that Miami should make a move, bringing Lance in from the Dallas Cowboys for a conditional fifth-round pick. It sounds tempting, right? A young, athletic quarterback with a ton of upside who could not only help weather the storm while Tua is out, but also provide insurance in case he goes down again in the future. On paper, it makes a lot of sense. But this isn't a simple decision. Lance's career so far has been more potential than production. Yes, he was a top 3 pick in 2021, and yes, he's got the kind of physical tools that make you wonder what he could become. But the truth is, he hasn't done much with those tools yet. He's only started 2 games, and in those, he didn't exactly light the world on fire. And then there's the injury history. He missed most of 2022 with a bad ankle injury, which only adds to the uncertainty. Can the Dolphins really afford to take a chance on someone who's more of a project than a sure thing? Let's not forget, Lance is sitting on the Cowboys bench for a reason. Dak Prescott is firmly entrenched as their starter, and Cooper Rush has proven to be a solid backup, which means Lance hasn't been able to push his way up the depth chart. That's not a great sign. But at the same time, Lance is still incredibly young. He's just 23, and he's still got a lot of room to grow. Under the right circumstances, with the right coaching, he could develop into something special. And that's where Mike McDaniel comes in. McDaniel knows Lance. He was with the San Francisco 49ers when they drafted him, and if there's anyone who can tap into Lance's potential, it might be McDaniel. The Dolphins' offensive system could play to Lance's strengths, his mobility, his ability to make plays outside the pocket, and his big arm. It's easy to see the appeal. But again, the question remains, is this really the time to roll the dice on a quarterback with so many unknowns? On the other hand, can Miami afford not to? Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley aren't cutting it, and the Dolphins can't just sit on their hands and hope for the best. Tua's injury history is what it is, and no one knows for sure how long he'll stay healthy, even when he returns. That's the reality. The Dolphins need to protect themselves. They need to find a quarterback who can not only keep the team afloat but also potentially lead them if things go south again with Tua. What makes this situation even more pressing is the Dolphins standing in the playoff race. They're right in the mix, and the AFC is stacked this year. A few bad weeks, and Miami could find themselves on the outside looking in. That's why this decision is so crucial. The Dolphins have a window here, and they can't afford to let it slam shut just because they didn't act in time. The longer they go without a reliable quarterback, the more that window starts to close. Now, about that trade price. A conditional fifth-round pick? That's not a huge investment. If it works out, You've got a quarterback with first-round talent for practically nothing. If it doesn't, well, you haven't given up much. It's a move that makes sense, even if it feels risky. But at this point, everything feels risky. The Dolphins are in a position where they have to take a chance. Doing nothing is probably the biggest risk of all.